Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is actually on something that's a little bit sentimental because I used to own this exact same model revolver. Today we're taking a look at the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus with the 6-inch barrel. Yeah, what a great looking revolver, and what I think is actually one of the most underrated production revolvers that you can buy today. Now, the reason I said this is a little bit sentimental is I used to own this exact model, and very rarely do I ever sell or trade anything from my personal collection. And when I do, it's because either I become disinterested in it or I want something different. And that was the case when it came to this particular gun. I ended up trading the one that I owned for a SIG M11. I believe it was actually kind of an even trade, and I was pretty happy with it. And the reason I had originally bought the 686 Plus is at the time I owned a pretty much brand new in the box 1978 production Colt Python, which of course I could not shoot because it was so rare and so valuable, but I wanted something that could kind of simulate that, and the 686 Plus kind of fit that bill at the time. And this was, of course, before I was the Texas Gun Vault. I was the Fort Worth Colt guy, and I don't think I ever did a proper range report on it, but I get to do one now because one has been lent to the channel, and this one is coming from my next door neighbor. So as always, I want to thank the people that always make these videos possible and help me keep the Texas Gun Vault alive. And of course, I've already mentioned my neighbor. His name is Phil. So Phil, thank you so much for lending this to the channel. As I said, it's kind of sentimental. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they really help keep this channel going. You guys know the Texas Gun Vault has had a little bit of a turbulent past here on YouTube. We're starting anew at the Texas Gun Vault Reloaded, and their support has really helped me keep everything going, and they've really motivated me. So thank you so much, Patreons. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor for all of these range reports because through his ammo donation, he makes these financially possible, and that is my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And yes, I'm here to talk about Brownworks once again, one of the best, if not the best, grip company in the country. Mark over there is an artist. He's a craftsman. And if you have a gun that takes wood panel grips and you're looking for something different, special, custom, and unique, Mark is your guy. I'm going to put a link to his website in the comments section, as well as a discount code for 10% off your first order down there. Go over there, check out his website, see what he has to offer. He offers things that no other grip company can, and he will personalize every order to your specific desires and needs. And of course, he makes grips for guns like 1911s, Beretta 92s, and CZs, but he also has been starting to make grips for revolvers. He's always telling me all the time how hard grips are to make for certain models. And then when I see his work, I am constantly blown away with how good it is. I don't think he even knows how good they are because maybe he's just so used to seeing it and he knows everything that goes into it. But when I see his final products, I am always blown away. He can put on custom logos, custom engravings, and even specialized textures out of exotic woods and materials. It's really amazing. So please go over there, check out Brownworks, see what he has to offer. If you don't see what you're looking for, because he spends more time making grips than he does updating his website, make sure to contact Mark. Tell him what you're looking for. He'll hook you up. And when you do, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about what this particular revolver is. I've already told you it is the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus. So this is the stainless steel version of the 586. And in case you don't know, every gun with a model number that begins with a 6, that is a 3-digit number, is a stainless steel model. So for example, the 629 is the stainless version of the Model 29, and so forth. Now, the 586 has a stellar reputation. In fact, I think they've even brought out the 586, which is a blued steel version of this gun, and that's the classic edition. So they brought that back out. And the plus version of this means it's a 7-shot cylinder versus the 6-shot cylinder. So you can still get the 6-shot cylinder, but having that extra round in there is really, really nice. And as I mentioned, this is the 6-inch version. Now, some people are going to like that. And of course, when it comes to different barrel lengths of revolvers, there's pros and cons to them all. And when I had originally bought a 686 Plus, I bought this barrel length because it was the same length as my Colt Python. But I like some things about it because I felt it was really accurate, but then I realized how front heavy the gun is. And we'll talk about that when I talk about the things that I don't like. But let's start talking about the things that I like and don't like about this gun. Well, first off, it's a Smith & Wesson revolver. Now, I have mentioned that I am a huge fan of Colts, and I even owned a Colt Python. But when it comes down to revolver manufacture and mass production, I honestly believe that Smith & Wesson makes the best revolvers. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are saying Ruger and other manufacturers, but when it comes to like the general production, we're not talking about the high-end custom one-off stuff. We're talking about the general production stuff that you can go down to your gun store and buy. I personally think Smith & Wesson has almost perfected the revolver. Now, there's a few things about every revolver and every gun that you're not gonna like, and some people can kind of nitpick these, but I think in general, they make the best revolver because they're made of forged metal versus cast metal. Now, one of my complaints with many of the Ruger guns is the fact that they use cast metal, and some people say that Ruger essentially makes the best cast guns, and I totally get it, but they're bigger and they're bulkier. I like the forged metal. I also like the mechanism and many of the ergonomics and the controls of Smith & Wesson revolvers. I just find them to be very durable. I find them to be ergonomic. I find them to be well built, and I've never really had an issue with a Smith & Wesson. So that's the thing I really like about it. I do love the fact that this is in stainless steel. Now, a blued steel revolver, of course, is always going to look way more pretty. However, when it comes to cleaning, stainless steel is the way to go. And honestly, it just has that kind of cool look. So if you like a gun that looks like it's nickel, but it's not, it's stainless steel, I love stainless steel. I just love the material that this thing is made out of. I also think that the 686 is one of the most underrated revolvers in the world. People don't talk about it as much as I think that they should, because right out of the box, these things come with great triggers. And of course, let me double check that we are empty, and we are. I want to show you these two trigger pulls. And this is just a standard 686 Plus. This is not a custom shop one. When it comes to the double action pull, it's pretty heavy, but I have to say it is pretty smooth and it is predictable. And then when it comes to single action, it is very, very nice. Yeah, it is just a great right out of the box trigger. Now, of course, there are other brands and higher end models from the custom shop that are probably going to be a little bit more refined. But for just a basic production revolver, this trigger is great. And really, as I said, I think it's one of the most underrated revolvers out there. I also really like the sights that come on these. I like the adjustable rear sights. I think that's a huge plus. And of course, you got that blade sight in the front, and you can replace it with that little pin right there. I kind of wish it was dovetailed, but I understand why it is the way that it is. So there are those sights. And I also really like the cylinder release. I've always found that the Smith & Wesson design is a little bit better than the Colt. The Colt, you have to pull back. The Smith & Wesson, you push forward. So I know I'm talking about a lot of things here that you guys probably like and already know about the gun. But now let's talk about a couple things that I don't like. And this first thing, of course, is the biggest gripe when it comes to Smith & Wesson. This version and this particular model, which is the -6, has what some people call the Hillary hole. And of course, this goes back to when Smith & Wesson tried to work with the Clinton administration and work on gun control. And some people have never forgiven Smith & Wesson for that. I'm kind of one of those people. However, they did agree to put in these stupid locks. and there's that little hole where the key is supposed to be. Now, I have never seen anybody ever use that as a safety lock, and I wish that they would stop doing it. No one else has that on their guns. They're not necessary. It doesn't shield them from liability or lawsuits. Get rid of that. Because all it is a reminder of the past and Smith & Wesson working with the Clinton administration. Plus, it's an extra part that some people have had break, especially on the more high-powered revolvers like the 500 Magnums and the 454 Casuls. People said that those things can break and cause trigger problems. I've never had an issue, but it's just a reminder. Smith & Wesson needs to get rid of that. Now, I want to talk about the grips. Now, a lot of people really like these rubberized grips, and I will say they are very comfortable, and they absorb a lot of the shock of 357 Magnum, especially if you're shooting the hotter loads. However, you guys know I'm not a big fan of the rubberized grips, and if I did own this, I would definitely be calling Brown Works to get a set of custom wood grips for this thing. But I'm not a big fan of these grips. They have the finger grooves. If your fingers don't conform to this grip perfect, that can be uncomfortable. The soft rubber kind of feels like a 1980s car steering wheel. I don't like that. But I will say when you shoot it, it is comfortable. But from an aesthetic standpoint, I think the gun definitely needs a huge upgrade. And lastly, this gun has a 6-inch barrel. And yes, I said I used to own a Python and a 686 Plus with a 6-inch barrel. And the reason I bought it was because I wanted the most accuracy. I thought the 8-inch and the longer looks kind of goofy. I definitely don't like snub-nose revolvers. I don't like the way that they shoot for me. They just look weird. But I discovered with a 6-inch barrel, these things can kind of get a little bit front heavy. And for the most part, you don't get that much more accuracy over a 4-inch. Now, when I have rented 4-inch 586s in the past at gun ranges, I have fallen in love with those. And I have discovered that for me personally, I think the optimum range when it comes to barrel length is 3 to 4 inches. You get great accuracy, but the gun isn't too front heavy. It's not unbalanced. It's just that right length. So the 6-inch barrel, I'm not a huge fan of anymore. I would go with the 4, or if they even offer this thing in a 3-inch is what I would do. All right, so I have rambled on enough. So let's get to the range. Now, you guys know, first off, I need to put a little caveat here. You guys know I am not a revolver expert. I don't shoot these as much as I do semi-auto. So you'll have to forgive me if I don't shoot it as well. But we're going to start off with 38 Special, then 357 Magnum on this target. I'm going to go for the left with 38 and on the right with 357. I'm just curious what the recoil impulse difference is going to be, if there's any accuracy discrepancies, and just generally see how it shoots with both loadings. I know 38 Special is going to shoot like a dream through this thing, but I'm curious because it's been a while since I've shot one of these, what 357 Magnum is going to be like. But I think it's going to be pretty darn soft shooting. So I'm going to set the target as always at 7 yards, 7 rounds of 38 Special, 7 rounds of 357 Magnum, and let's see how this thing shoots. All right, so I'm pretty happy with those results. I have to say I shot the 357 Magnum better. This trigger is outstanding in single action. As it comes to the recoil impulse, shooting 357 Magnum through this is really a dream. It's a heavy gun, full metal frame, long barrel. Yeah, it's really soft shooting. So if you don't like the 357 Magnum, maybe because you're used to shooting them in such small revolvers, give one of these things a try. It's very, very comfortable and very manageable. So if you're recoil sensitive, this might be a great revolver for you. All right, so let's set up the target now at twice the distance. I'm going to go for center mass. Once again, 7 rounds of 38 Special, 7 rounds of 357 Magnum. Let me just make sure that this gun is as accurate as I remember with the 6-inch barrel. I'm expecting it to be. All right, so 14 more rounds, center mass. Let's see how I do. For 15 yards or so, I'll definitely take that. I still have absolutely no complaints. It shoots just like my old 686 Plus. I really like this, and if I was going to get more revolvers, this gun would definitely be on my list. Still not my greatest grouping, but as I said, for me, practically, it works great. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is set the target out even further at about 20 yards, and this time I'm going to essentially shoot it up against a barrier. It's not really bench resting, but this gun I know is exceptionally accurate, so I'm going to try to take as much of the human error out of it as possible and see what kind of grouping I can get with it. So as I said, I know this gun is really accurate, way more accurate than the person holding it, so I just want to see how it performs at that distance and shooting against a barrier. So let's see what this group looks like. And honestly, that is why I think this is one of the most underrated revolvers out there. Right out of the box, these things are very accurate with a very good trigger. And it's not even a custom shop gun. And as I said, this revolver is way more accurate than the person holding it. So that's the results that I got. And I know if you guys are revolver shooters and fans, you guys will do better than me. All right, so now I've talked about the trigger and how well it is in single action. Let's do some double action. So once again, I'll set up the target and let me see what this thing does in double action. Once again, I'll have 38 Special and 357 Magnum. Not that I think it's gonna make any difference. I'm gonna go for the center mass again and see what this group looks like with a heavier double action pull. And once again, for me, it's good practical accuracy. Now, I've ranted and raved about this trigger. I will say the double action pull probably is a little bit on the heavy side. So if you take this to a competent gunsmith that knows how to work on Smith & Wesson revolvers, I'm sure they can get that down even more. But the custom shop ones are nicer. The double action pull on this is even. There is no grit. It is very predictable. It's just a little bit on the heavy side. But that's just me. I wish that was just a little bit lighter, but absolutely great practical, or we could say combat accuracy, especially if you're going to carry this particular model as your concealed carry weapon, especially if you have one of these shorter barrel lengths. So you just have to train and practice with that double action pull. All right, the next thing I want to do as always is see how fast I can shoot it. And as I've already discovered with this double action pull, it's really heavy. So I know I'm probably not going to be able to shoot it very fast at all. And with that heavy pull, I'm probably not going to be very accurate. But of course, I want to see what I do and show you guys the results. You know, I don't lie to you guys. This is actually my shooting. If I go to the range and I absolutely suck, I always show it to you. I got nothing to hide here. I always tell you guys, I'm just an average gun guy like you are. I'm not a professional shooter. I'm not a special forces operator. I'm not a professional trainer. I don't do any of that. I am just an average gun guy wanting to give you, as average gun people, the best information that I possibly can from that perspective. So, shooting this thing as fast as I can, double action. Let's see if I embarrass myself. All right, so I shot the thing really low and really slow. But hey, practical accuracy. All the shots were on target, and I'm not going to film it again. I'm going to show you guys the honest results because that's just the type of videos that I personally like to make. So I'm not going to be shooting this thing as fast as Jerry Miculek or as fast as I can shoot semi-autos. The trigger is just too darn heavy, and I'm probably shooting it really low because I'm anticipating it with that really heavy and long double action pull. So what are my final thoughts on the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus with the 6-inch barrel? Well, it has definitely been a trip down memory lane. Yeah, I used to remember shooting my 686 Plus all the time. It was my main revolver when I wanted to shoot 38 Special or 357 Magnum, and it works just like I remember. It's a great revolver. No, it is not a Korth. It is not a $5,000 revolver, but as a production revolver, I personally think this model in particular is one of the most underrated revolvers out there. It is such a fantastic design. It is robust. You can shoot 38, 357 Magnum through it with no problem. Light recoil, 7 shots. The only thing I would really want to change on this is go to a shorter barrel, either 4 or 3 inches, and of course change out those grips. But everything else about this is awesome. And I've already cleaned it, and man, do I love cleaning stainless steel firearms. It is so easy. So overall, I am really happy with this thing. As I said, it was a walk down memory lane, shot as good as I remember, but there are a few things about it that I didn't like, the double action pull and the 6-inch barrel. But overall, spectacular gun. If you're looking at a Smith & Wesson, don't know what you want to get, don't mind getting a larger frame, go look at the 686. If you want something in blued steel, go with the 586. It's essentially the same gun, but in blued steel. But when it comes to range time and ease of cleaning, you can't beat stainless steel. So on my star system, how would I rate the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus in 357 Magnum with the 6-inch barrel? This thing easily gets 4.5 stars out of 5. A great revolver. Yeah, just if you like revolvers, you like quality revolvers, you like stainless steel revolvers, you like accurate revolvers, you like fairly affordable revolvers, this thing is the complete package. And there's so much that you can do to it. As I said, you can send this off to many gunsmiths around the country, and they can really tune this up even more if you want something better than what comes out of the box, which I actually think what you get out of the box is a great deal and a great tuned gun. So 4 out of 5 stars, Smith & Wesson 686 plus 7-shot 357 Magnum in stainless steel. What a great gun. Thank you so much, Phil, for letting me shoot your awesome firearm. And who knows, maybe one day I'll have to pick up one of these again. So what do you guys think? Do you guys own any Smith & Wesson revolvers? Well, I'm sure you do. And do you own this model in particular? And do you agree with me that it's one of the most underrated revolvers in the world? So let me know what you think in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.